Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Risen Deaths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, first off, I want to get into some things before I start talking about this event, because it's been pretty busy for me lately. I do have a full-time job, and it's getting pretty hectic just off of that alone, and my schedule is random with that one. But also, I've been pretty busy with some other stuff as well, which is part of the reason why videos have slowed down quite a bit, but do expect a few more on the way. I don't know when I'm going to get around to that Mist Train video I think I've mentioned before, but I will eventually. In fact, it's currently grinding right now. Like, I don't know if you can see the tabs at the bottom or whatnot, but it's currently grinding right now, and I'm working on a current event. Then on top of that, I'm playing two versions of Kamihime Project. I've seen some pretty impressive stuff on the JP side already, just with a few of their updates, although there is a drawback when it comes to their scene collection thing now because of something new they implemented. And then on top of that, I've really slowed down on the new Taku version of Kamihime Project. I'm basically on there just for events. I don't even really do raids too much anymore. That's how much my time's been taken. In fact, the game I'm creating has been delayed again because it's just gotten way too busy, and I'm only one person trying to do so much stuff at once. So I have no clue when that next demo is going to come out. As for the full game itself, I've never decided on a date to begin with, so it'll happen when it happens. I'm not even really trying to promote too much on it anymore anyways, because I don't really know when things are going to happen with it. Besides, it was a free game anyway, so it's not like people were paying for the game I was creating, so there's that. But it doesn't mean it's not going to have quality. That's why it's taking so long. I could have been pushed it out a long time ago if that was the case. Like, if I didn't want to make it look good, then I would have long put it out. But anyways, getting into what this video is about, there's a new raid event, and right now it is already active, so just keep in mind you want your dark team. In fact, use this as a good bit of preparation for later on, because we're about to have a tower event as well, and it's also light element, so your dark team's going to be needed for that as well. This is a raid event, you can get some help for that, so need be, just go in and start a raid, get people to jump in if you want. Only exception is heroic. You're on your own on that one, and this heroic is going to be a slight bit tedious, so keep that in mind. But same stuff as before, do a lot of the story quests to get some more magic jewels, and then you'll be able to start in your own raids. I have not seen the info for this, nor have I even started this event yet, so this is completely new to me. And this is despite having access to the epic quest on JP side. I'm already overpowered on the JP side when it comes to epic quests, so I just blow through it instantly. I just know that one of the enemies you fight is actually playable. So there's that. But anyways, if you need another light add-on, here's your chance to get that. The weapon, I'm not sure what that is just yet. At some point we will get event weapons that can final break out the gate. I just don't remember when that happens. And of course, free Kamihime if you want. I'll go over that later. But getting into the battles themselves, it's like 5 million HP for expert. Ragnarok has 15 million, and Ragnarok Plus has 72 million. And it looks like the enemy data is a bit different based on expert compared to the others, but expert's very, very easy. Easier than normal because normally they have like 7 million or 8 million. This one has 5. So it should be much easier to clear this. In fact, you're expected to be able to solo Ragnarok and even Ragnarok Plus. if you even want the chance at heroic. And sorry about the beeping because I have Discord on, so I forgot to like turn that off. So let me mute that. Now going back into the events, the enemy, she'll try to give you something called Blessing of the Fallen Angel, which is going to happen at the start of the fight, and then 50% or less HP if there are none. I have no idea what this really does on its own, but it does affect her enemy burst as well. So if it is not given to somebody, then it's going to end up being a single target burst for normal, and it seems like she may have a raging. I'm sorry, it seems like I'm a little bit lost on this one because I really like. This is looking kind of weird with how Google Translate just did this one. So I apologize for that. In fact, I'm just going to scroll down and see the actual strategy for the fight if I can. Which they don't have, so that makes it even worse. But as far as I can tell, it's going to be light damage to a single enemy, and it can be light damage to all enemies. So that's the whole thing with that. She can give blessing to a fallen angel the fallen angel to herself apparently as well. So that's something to know. And you can get hit with dark damage too. So that's something to pay attention to because you can get hit with light damage, which dark teams are strong against, and you can get hit with dark damage, which light teams are strong against. Based on this blessing of the fallen angel, that's going to affect what you get hit with. Long story short, it's also going to put debuffs on you. If it's the light AoE and if it's a dark AoE, it's going to put blind on you, which will just interrupt your ability to attack. And it is 4 turns, which is actually longer than her orb count, so pay very close attention to that one. And that's regardless of Ragnarok or Ragnarok Plus. Now, I don't see anything that says any resistances towards debuffs or whatnot, so that's something to know. But major change is that she has 3 orbs in Ragnarok and 2 orbs in Ragnarok Plus, so it's going to happen more often. Now, Heroic I have actually found some info about because of friends on the Discord, and then on top of that, I've looked into it myself with a quick glance. This is going to mix a lot of mechanics that you've had before. So, keep this one thing in mind. First off, the first round the enemy is going to love removing debuffs off itself. Up to 4 of them. On top of that, the last time it does that, it's going to, like, the last 3 times it does it, it's going to stack debuff resistance. So, like, every 20 HP, it's just going to get harder and harder to land debuffs. That's the whole point of this fight. You're trying to, for the most part, deal damage without debuffs. So, I wouldn't even really bother using them and just try to wipe out that 80 mil HP on your own. But if you really feel like you need them, save them for when you're bursting or something, like when you're about to do really heavy damage. Speaking of which, every time the enemy bursts, every 3 turns, it's going to remove 1 debuff off itself, while randomly hitting you with 3 times with light damage. Goes without saying, if you're not using dark, you're not going to land debuffs anyway, but at the same time, you have a problem if you cannot kill this first fight in 30 turns. And that is, it will remove all the buffs off of you and deal 100,000 damage. Starting from the 30th turn, and it will keep spamming it every turn after. If you hit that point, you're pretty much screwed. It will be a failed run, just redo it. Now, Heroic Stage 2, it says Holy Light Yule, meaning I guess you're fighting Yule Goat? But this one brings back 2 mechanics from previous Heroic fights, if you've done those. One, I think it was Amisael, I forgot how to pronounce her name, but her happiness climax debuff. What this is where your HP will get drastically reduced, but regions put on you, and that debuff is put on you, and you can't remove the debuff. Well, you can't remove it normally. There's a few ways around it if you know what you're doing, but you can't remove it normally, and when your HP gets full, you die from that. That's what that debuff basically is. And on top of that, I don't know what this buff is, but like literally whenever the boss normal attacks, it's going to start stacking a cumulative buff on itself. It only lasts 3 turns, so it only stacks up to 3 times, but it's still something you really need to pay attention to. On top of that, its burst is going to heal you for 2,000 along with the regen, so you want to make sure you keep your HP low. And how you do that is with the other mechanic, where 66% of your current HP is reduced when you meet the conditions based on the orb count. So if you want to keep your HP low, or at least prevent yourself from getting hit with that instant kill, you're using Bajet's mechanics on top of Amisael's. It's a lot to keep track of. Needless to say, if you hang around too long on this fight as well, you're going to die. So pay very close attention to that. I'll go over what you're supposed to do for each mechanic basically further down, because that's where they have the better info for that. And then there's stage 3. It's going to remove that happiness climax and fully heal you. So it'll remove the debuff first and then give you all your HP back. So don't worry about having near full HP from the previous round. That's going to be the first action it does. And it's going to do small dark damage to an enemy. It says when you're in the dark and don't meet the conditions for any other special actions, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. You can get hit randomly 2 times with light damage. And it says in multiple turns of 5 in normal mode, meaning every 5th turn. And then in raging mode, multiple turns of 5, you can get hit with a multitude of different stuff by the looks of it, where it's darkness damage to your entire team. And then there's a light gauge damage to your entire team when Mo gauge is maximum and her HP is at 40% and 20%. And then there's another one where it looks like you're getting hit with both dark and light damage when the Mo gauge is at 25%. So you're going to get smacked with a lot of dark and light damage. The dark damage is more threatening because remember, you're not resisting that. You're resisting towards the light damage because you should be doing heroic with a dark team. But normal mode, random 4 times dark damage or random 4 times light damage. Like, it will switch between the states. So that's what's going to happen. And then raging is going to do it to one character, but usually when that happens, that type of stuff is listed, it means it's going to be a very strong nuke. And there's only 2 orbs for this enemy as well. So they all seem to have either 2 or 3 orbs. The first one has 3. So here's the general thing with this one. Of course, standard heroic things apply where if you're going a different element than the advantage, you're going to end up not landing debuffs, basically. But on top of that, first wave has a 30 turn time limit, at that point you're just going to basically be screwed. Second one, like I said, mixes Omnisal and Majed. It was a win Omnisal. So there's that. And the third wave, you're basically just damage racing for the most part. Now, first wave. It says the attack power of the opponent decreases according to the number of debuffs. However, it's much harder to land your debuffs. So actually, you do want to land your debuffs as much as possible. The debuff resistance is going to make that tougher and tougher to pull off, though. So keep that in mind. So if you have Jarl or Zotep, it's hard to pronounce her name. If you have her, you're in a very good position. She lands a lot of debuffs. She lands some very potent debuffs. That's going to greatly help for this fight. So keep that in mind. If not, I think the next closest thing you can get is probably somebody like, I forget who lands a lot of debuffs as well, but I know for the soul side of things, you can definitely use Perseus or Mordred, whoever you have, and try with that. But it will make things a little bit worse if you're trying to go for stage 3, because I've already heard from people that attempted it. Stage 3 does a lot of damage, so you may want a soul that can heal or protect you. If you don't have especially if you don't have a Kamihime that can do it. Now, stage 2, hold off on your healing. Do not heal. If anybody can heal, don't do it. But you have characters that can drain their own HP, like or even drain the team's HP, like Dark Aether. That's actually going to be pretty good for stage 2, because you want to keep your HP as low as possible. Period, point blank. Now, as for the mechanics I mentioned, in order to try and reduce your HP, if there's no orbs, you need 3 people to burst. If there's 1 orb, you need to deal 5 million damage in 1 turn. If there's 2 orbs, this is the easiest one to do. For like full orbs, pull out a summon. Like any Idolin, pull them out. So save your Idolins for 2 orbs, basically. That's your last your last ditch point before you get healed, and it makes things even worse. So do not get full HP. However, you can indeed survive at that full recovery if you have anything like endurance or something like that. That I do believe, or whatever the buffs are that revive you. It will make you survive at 1 HP and then start regenerating again. But the thing is, for those that do die off, and have an automatic revival, it says that the happiness climax thing will excuse me, it says that the happiness climax thing will come off of them. So it's really just the ones that got Indomitable that seem to keep that state. But if you have like an automatic revival, or you got revived by somebody else, then the happiness climax won't even be there. But if no one has it, it's going to get reapplied. So keep that in mind. That's the whole thing with that trigger. It will apply it when no one has it. But if one person has it, then you can just cheese it a little bit by letting 4 people die off, or enough people to die off, and revival back in. So there's that. Just make sure one person has it at all times, otherwise it's going to be given to everybody again. And stage 3, depending on the stage, what attribute you're going to get smacked up against. So if you have dark resistance or light resistance on your team, I don't know how you're going to have dark resistance on your team without a Kaiser, basically. But if you have that type of stuff, then pay attention to what that's going to do, because you can get smacked with a dark attack when you have light resistance up, and that's not a good thing. So raw damage cut is probably going to be the way to go for that. There's a trigger every 5 turns, like I mentioned, and then on top of that, the triggers at 40%, 25%, and 20% may or may not catch you off guard, so time those. Especially the trigger at 25% HP, because it will be quite powerful you definitely need your damage cut for that. That said, I can easily recommend Romulus. I can recommend Asclepius. There's those as well. They say Paracelsus is actually pretty good for this, especially considering the fact that you can get a whole party of Indomitability on that. And then on top of that, she already does a decent amount of damage with normal attacks anyway, so there's that. She's got abilities where you can drain your HP as well, I do believe. So, if you don't want the Indomitability, you got the HP drain as well, but I would take the Indomitability. Why not? So, there's that. You can keep the whole team alive with just Paracelsus. That's very good. And one of my things fell over in the background. But, others that they mentioned too, Aether can HP drain the whole team if you're having trouble with the second stage. Erebus is very good just in general, so is Barif. And they can get those single target nukes focused on them. So keep that in mind. They both have Indomitable as well. Kali or Kala, I forgot her name. She can basically drain her own HP every single turn, so she's easily bypassing the second stage if you decide to use her. Boer can also drain her own HP and also produce some healing bottles, so she kind of helps very point blank. Takemi Nikata also does an HP drain. There's a lot of them they suggest for the HP drain for the second part of the fight. Just be careful in the third part with them. Hades is pretty good if you've awakened her. Nefertim is pretty good if you have her. Nibiris has Zombie. This is the first time they've recommended an Kamihime, but Nibiris has Zombie. So if you want to put that on your team to help with the second fight, that's an option as well. So there's that. They also recommend some add-ons, honestly. Like, add-ons that up your firepower, or, of course, a Kaiser. Like, if you have both the light and the dark Kaisers, they'd be pretty good for this one, because, you can time them and get specific resistances for, the third fight. But Dark Kaiser is automatically good for period point blank dark teams, so that's one thing to know. And of course, you get free stuff basically from doing the event and whatnot too. I do have to mention that at one point we're going to start getting more events that hand out skill orbs, so skill experience orbs will be more common. So keep that in mind. But as for the equipment itself, they still haven't found broken these things, but it's still pretty decent for a starter weapon with this bow, where it's large assault and small defender. So newer players, you've got that. You've also got that one that gives you 30% elemental attack and also gives you a stinger chance. That's actually much better than you would think. And also the summon effect gives you ability damage. So this add-on is actually pretty good if you ask me. But more emphasis on that stinger. The game is shifting a lot into having elemental advantage, and stinger only works with elemental advantage. So you've got another multiplier right there. And multiplier abuse in this game goes very far. To emphasize that point much further, I've recently seen, and of course they're a Japanese whale, but it still proves my point. But I've recently seen them use their water team, and they were dealing 70 million in one turn with normal attacks, thanks to multiplier abuse. Now, to really get into the specifics for that, stinger was involved, and then sometimes even critical went off. I've seen their Hector do 11.8 million in one normal attack, thanks to stinger and critical going off at the same time. We don't have critical yet, sadly, though, and then it's going to be kind of rare when it comes off anyways. But that's my point. Multiplier abuse goes so far, because that is absurdly... That is so far beyond the soft cat damage that soft cats don't even matter. Multiplier abuse is your friend. Stinger helps search multiplier abuse. You're going to have a lot of elemental advantage fights where you're going to need to do that, because guild competition basically forces it. Tower of Malice basically forces it. We have Guardian Plus raids. There's Malicious raids. Heroic forces it. And it's good to just have in general because of the fact that you're going to get more elemental attack just from having elemental advantage. Along with Stinger actually working. Elemental advantage is easily your friend in this game. Now, I wouldn't go out of your way to get Stinger weapons, maybe, unless you can fit them into your grid, but Stinger buffs, and I don't want to give Stinger, probably will be good for that. So, free players, here's a free Stinger boost right here. Of course, there's still stronger Adoans than that, because honestly, if you get 100% Adoan or a Catastrophe Adoan, easily use them. But this is probably one of the better Adoans to have for a free player. So, it all depends on how often the Stinger can go off for you. It's still RNG, but it is powerful, and people have been using it. It is... I use it myself, and I'm already over-capping my normal attacks, because I don't have any cap increases for that, but I've used it myself and over-capping normal attack increases. For both Nutaku, Sad, and JP. That's how good that is. In fact, one of my future videos is going to redo the whole weapon skill thing, because we've also got skill orbs to change how some of that's done. But I will say this. Consider different multipliers and learn what multipliers do. I've already done a video on this. And considering I just seen this person do 70 million from normal attacks, don't question it. Now then, as for the event missions, start your own raid 5 times, you get half elixirs. No, start your own raid 3 times, you get half elixirs. If you go and help somebody out 5 times, you start getting magic jewels daily. Do this. It's more magic jewels. It's not that much, but it's still more. I'm saying this because of the fact that we're getting close to the point where they're going to start giving us the pity pool system, where it takes like, I think, 100 pulls or 300 pulls or something in order to forcibly get one of the SSR Kamihime on a banner. And that's also the point where you start going to see 2 SSR per banner, so you're going to want that, because they're literally the only new Kamihime that come out on Gacha now. At least for JP's side, so start picking and choosing when you want to use your pity. And start saving up magic jewels for that. Otherwise, you're going to start using star coins for it. As for the raid solos, are Kamihime for Expert, Water Kamihime for Ragnarok, and do whatever you can for Ragnarok Plus. But you have to solo them. So, that'll just get you more raid tickets. Raid tickets are still pretty good, because, remember that you can get a lot of fodder and stuff from that, so keep that in mind. Now, the last thing, I did not go over the new free Kamihime. And I do this all the time because of the fact that I don't think I'm going back to my videos where I've started going over each and every single Kamihime. Even though they don't make any more R Kamihime anymore, and SR is getting pretty rare to see, it's just the fact that it's a long, tedious process, and I've been pretty busy. I don't think I'm coming back to it. But anyways, another version of Daphne's appeared. Honestly, she looks really cute like this. I like this one. But, she's a Dark SR, and you might actually need her for the tower coming up. It depends on what your teams are and how much Kamihime you have with you. But, hey, the more the better. So, here's a special thing she has for her assist ability, which kind of makes her a little bit unique. The smaller the orb count for the enemy, the higher the dark attribute attack she has. I don't mind seeing more stuff like this on Kamihime, because that's actually pretty interesting. It gives you more of an incentive to do things you normally wouldn't do, like removing orbs outside of, like, the overdrives, where bosses will simply nuke you if they have full orbs. But, she also can remove orbs when she bursts, so that might actually have some use in certain teams as well. Because if you can get a team that can fill up their burst gauges pretty fast, she'll actually be pretty helpful with keeping the orb gauges down. Giving her a spot among teams even with SSR Kamihime, so you never know. And then pressure is applied to an enemy as well with one of her abilities. If I remember correctly, that gives damage based on debuffs, but I'll go over the data down here if I can. But I do believe that's damage based on debuffs. Or no, pressure I think removes orbs. Helps remove orbs. Never mind, I got that wrong. But she gives a combo rate debuff. Pressure is more orb removal. She can increase the maximum orb count on enemies. So I can see situations where she can actually be pretty useful. I mean, Haggith is pretty annoying with her nukes because you have to worry about the nuke dealing damage and then also debuffing you, and if you don't remove that debuff, you're going to get nuked again. She's pretty good against Haggith, if you ask me. I don't know about Haggith Plus. We don't have that yet. At least I don't think we have that yet. But she might actually be good for that as well. Who knows? But I can actually see some utility for her. More than other SR Kamihime. So she actually is worth using. There's also going to be some tower enemies that will be pretty annoying. 16th floor is always annoying because it only has one orb. Even if she can't debuff, she can still bypass that with her burst. So that helps a lot. So I could see her having some uses. But yeah, as I thought, pressure was going to help remove some orb count. So yeah, if pressure does land, it's going to really help. And then the combo rate down helps as well. They even say it helps for the Ragnarok catastrophe for light. So that's also something that's really helpful. All I can say is this: she's actually much better than what she would seem. Don't underestimate the orb removal. I use it to greatly cheese a lot of the Guardian fights. So Dark Mage, you have something that can help towards that right here as a free Kamihime. Go get her. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon because I'm going to attempt the heroic, guys. I have Dark as my second strongest element, and thanks to my white team, I've raised up my Dark team pretty well. I'm going to attempt the heroic. I'm going to try and get it on video, so don't worry about that. I got a lot of Kamihime for it too. It's just the souls that might be the issue. I might be stuck using Romulus, even though I got a Perseus weapon for Dark. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon. I have other videos on the way. I'm planning on having, like I said earlier, Miss Train video. I'm planning on redoing the weapon skill thing. Also, English Dona Dona has been released. It's from Jorin. I don't know how they're going to do things later because maybe it might get uncensored. I don't know. Expect more Dona Dona vids now that the thing's actually translated and I can understand the storyline, because it's one of those games you might actually want to play it for the story. So, English Dona Dona has been released, guys. You can get your hands on it in a multitude of ways. I'm not going to be the type to sit and say, support the official release and all that, because honestly, that's up to you if you want to support it or not. But just know that it's not recommended to go get the stuff for free. But, hey, if somebody wants to do it, they got to deal with the risk of that, because it's not exactly something that's risk-free. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon, and take care.